Welcome to Money Lessons by History. Today, we are telling one of the most incredible stories in the history of tech. It's the story of a digital empire that for a time was bigger and more important than even Google. This is how the first true king of social media won and then lost its crown, almost overnight.
And let's just kick things off with this bombshell of a quote. This is from the guy who spent over $500 million to buy MySpace, Rupert Murdoch, the head of News Corp, basically admitting they got everything wrong. So how on earth do you take a cultural phenomenon, a true titan, and just run it straight into the ground? Well, let's get into it.
You have to remember, before there was a Facebook, before Instagram or TikTok, there was one undisputed ruler of the social internet. We're going back to the early 2000s, and MySpace wasn't just another website. For a whole generation, it was the website. It was our digital home.
And let's just wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this thing. At its absolute peak, MySpace was pulling in nearly 76 million unique visitors every single month. To give you some perspective, back in 2006, it actually blew past Google to become the most visited website in the entire United States. Think about that. Bigger than Google. It was an absolute monster.
But see, MySpace was so much more than just a place to connect with your friends. It was a blank canvas. You could literally code your own profile with HTML, throw up glittery backgrounds, and this was the best part. You could pick a profile song, that one song that just screamed, "This is me," to anyone who landed on your page. And for music, it was a game changer. It became this incredible launchpad for artists like Adele, like the Arctic Monkeys, who built huge fan bases on MySpace before they ever got a record deal.
And right there, that's the thing. This is the seed of its own destruction. The very thing that everyone loved about MySpace, that complete creative freedom, was creating a technical nightmare behind the scenes. Every single unique, glittery, music-blasting profile was a tangled mess of custom code. It made the site slow, buggy, and almost impossible to update. Its greatest strength was secretly its fatal flaw.
And that brings us to the moment where everything, and I mean everything, changed. In 2005, the media giant News Corporation came in and bought MySpace for a jaw-dropping $580 million. Now, on the surface, this looked like the ultimate win. But in reality, it was the beginning of the end.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It shows you the whole brutal, lightning-fast story. It's founded in 2003, explodes onto the scene, gets this massive sale in 2005, hits its peak just a few years later, and then boom, an almost immediate, catastrophic collapse, ending in a fire sale for a tiny, tiny fraction of what it was bought for.
This quote from a former exec just says it all, doesn't it? That customization paradox we talked about had created what they called a spaghetti ball mess of code. The company that needed to be fast and agile to survive was completely stuck in digital concrete. It couldn't innovate, it couldn't pivot, it couldn't even fix its own basic problems.
You see, MySpace wasn't just defeated by a better competitor. It really rotted from the inside out. Let's dig into how this big corporate acquisition took a platform people loved and turned it into a frustrating, cluttered, and frankly, annoying mess.
Just look at the difference here. Before the sale, the entire focus was on the product, on the community, on growth. After News Corp took over, they started treating MySpace like it was a newspaper or a TV station, not a tech company. The new goal wasn't making users happy, it was about hitting these insane ad revenue targets, and they didn't care what it did to the user experience.
And here's what that looked like in reality. Suddenly, the site was just plastered with ugly, intrusive banner ads, some of them leading to really sketchy websites. That code base was what engineers call a big ball of mud, impossible to work with. Executives were a revolving door, nobody could agree on a strategy, they couldn't hire top engineers, and on top of it all, spam and security problems were everywhere. User trust was just eroding, day by day.
So, while MySpace is falling into total chaos, this new challenger is quietly rising, and it's built on the exact opposite principles: order, discipline, and a clean, standardized experience. You know who I'm talking about. Of course, it was Facebook.
This table basically tells the entire story of the war. Where MySpace had anonymity and chaos, Facebook demanded real names and built a network of trust. Where MySpace was a messy, customized free-for-all, Facebook gave everyone the same clean, simple blue and white layout. And this is so crucial. While MySpace was a closed little box, Facebook opened up its platform to outside developers, which led to an explosion of apps and games like Farmville that made the site sticky and absolutely essential.
And here's the kicker, a little bit of historical irony for you. Get this. Back in 2005, a young Mark Zuckerberg actually offered to sell Facebook to MySpace. The price? Just $75 million. And MySpace's co-founder, Chris DeWolf, turned him down flat. He later said, "We should have taken it. It is truly one of the biggest what-ifs in the history of business."
So, okay, we can see the bad decisions. We can see the smarter rival. But how fast did this all actually happen? How quickly did things fall apart? Well, the numbers behind the collapse are absolutely mind-blowing. They show what was basically an extinction-level event in the digital world. You are definitely going to want to see this.
All of these problems came together and started a full-blown exodus. And look, this wasn't some slow, gradual decline. It was like falling off a cliff. Users didn't just stop logging in as often. They packed their digital bags and left for good, heading over to the cleaner, faster, and more reliable world of Facebook.
By April of 2009, the data was just devastating. Look at this. US users were spending nearly 3 times as many minutes on Facebook as they were on MySpace. This is what you call an engagement deficit. Yeah, MySpace still had people logging in, but they weren't sticking around. They were checking in less and leaving way faster. It was the clearest sign that the platform had lost its cultural spark.
And now let's talk about the financial carnage. That massive $580 million that News Corp invested, it was pretty much a total loss. They lost 94% of their money. I mean, by any business metric, that is an absolute unmitigated disaster. And here it is, the final, humiliating number. After paying $500 million just 6 years earlier, News Corp sold what was left of MySpace in 2011 for a measly $35 million. It's just an almost unbelievable fall from grace for what was once the most important social property on the planet.
And you know, just when you think it couldn't get any worse, there's this tragic final chapter. In 2019, during a server migration, the company managed to permanently delete 12 years of user content. Over 50 million songs, just gone. Forever. No backup. It was just one last, painful confirmation of the deep, systemic, technical neglect that had haunted the company for its entire life.
So, after all that, what can we actually learn from this spectacular train wreck? Well, the ghost of MySpace actually leaves behind some incredibly powerful, timeless lessons for any business, any innovator, anybody building anything today. Let's just quickly break these down. First, the user experience is everything. MySpace drove its users away with a clunky site and spammy ads. Never sacrifice that trust. Second, technical debt is a silent killer. That spaghetti code made it impossible for them to keep up. Third, open platforms win. Facebook built an army of developers creating value for them, while MySpace kept its walls up. And finally, you have to play the long game. News Corp's obsession with short-term ad money was absolutely fatal. And that, of course, brings us to today. When you look around at the tech giants that dominate our lives right now, this story really makes you think, doesn't it? Which platform out there is starting to feel a little clunky? Which one seems to be prioritizing ad revenue over its users? Which one might be headed for its very own MySpace moment?
I really want to know what you think. Who is your candidate for the next MySpace? Drop it in the comments below. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive, please do me a favor and hit that like button. And be sure to subscribe for more lessons from the stories that shaped our world. Thanks so much for watching.